The two sons of Valkyra cast orange and purple shadows across the army base where the war had finally ended. In the big hall carved from solid rock, 7 alien women stood on display like prizes, their blue skin shining under glowing light, their pointed ears hearing every whispered insult. 6 stood tall and beautiful in olive green cloth, special rope on their arms, but one sat away from them on the cold floor, bigger, rounder, her body marked with scars no one wanted to understand. The soldiers laughed and pointed at her, their voices bouncing off old walls. But one man stood quiet at the back, his uniform still dirty with ash, his eyes looking not at the beautiful prisoners, but at the broken one they had forgotten. What he was about to do would change the meaning of honor across the galaxy. Before we start, subscribe now so you don't miss more amazing stories like this one. And before we dive in, tell us in the comments where are you watching this video from. We love hearing from you and always read every message. Captain Marcus Chen pressed his back against the stone wall of the Valkyran Victory Hall, watching his fellow soldiers celebrate with bottles and shouts that sounded almost wild. The 7 Na'vi women had been brought from the jail that morning. 6 stood in perfect rows, their thin bodies beautiful even in defeat, but the 7th sat separated by everyone's mean choice, soft, round, her face turned down in lasting shame. "Look at that one," Lieutenant Rodriguez shouted, pointing with his bottle. "They sent us their leftovers. What are we supposed to do with that?" Laughter burst out like gunfire. Someone threw a piece of fruit that landed near her knee. She didn't move, didn't even flinch. Her stillness was complete, as if she had learned long ago that any reaction would only make the cruelty worse. Each platoon leader chooses one as payment for service, Colonel Hastings announced from the center of the hall. The Na'vi Council agreed to this as part of the surrender. Terms: consider it a prize of war. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. Prizes of war, as if thinking beings could be divided like meal packages. One by one, leaders made their picks from the 6 standing women, looking at them like animals, sometimes lifting a chin or checking an arm. Each time they passed over the sitting woman without a look, stepping around her like furniture. "Chen, you're up. Last pick." The hall fell into waiting silence. Marcus pushed off from the wall and walked forward, his boots echoing on stone. He stopped in front of the one on the floor. She looked up slowly, and Marcus saw not the broken giving up he expected, but a depth of sadness so deep it seemed to pull at reality itself. Her eyes were the color of deep ocean bottoms. "This one," Marcus said quietly. "I choose this one." The hall burst into chaos, but while they laughed, her eyes shimmered faintly as if holding a truth older than the stars. "Chen, you hit your head in that last battle," Major Torrance called out. "The tall one is still available. We can change this if you're having some kind of problem." "I'm fine. I've made my choice." "He's made his choice," Rodriguez howled. "Chuns into the big girls. Who knew? Maybe he's planning to eat well. She looks like she hasn't missed a meal." The cruelty cut deep. Marcus had served with these men for 3 years, had bled with them. Now he saw them clearly for the first time. Colonel Hastings pushed through, face red. "Captain Chen, I'm giving you one chance to change your mind. This goes on your permanent record." "I understand, sir. The promotion board will question your judgment, your fitness for command. Then they'll question it." "Sir," a junior officer came over with a datapad. "Captain, for the record, please state your choice clearly." Marcus looked down at her. She was shaking, her hands gripping her knees. "Her name." "What's your name?" The hall fell silent. No one had asked before. Her lips moved, barely a whisper. "My name is Nera. I select Nera. Nera, of the Ash Branch clan," she whispered, and there was pride in it that had survived everything. "Selection confirmed," the officer said. "She's now your legal responsibility." Marcus held out his hand. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said in broken Na'vi. Her eyes got wide with shock. She stared at his hand, then slowly placed her warm palm in his. He helped her stand. She was a head taller, swaying as if she hadn't stood much lately. They walked toward the exit through a sea of mocking faces. Someone started a slow clap, sarcasm thick enough to choke on. As they reached the doorway, an alarm screamed. "Security alert. Incident in detention block C. No." Nera breathed, terror complete. My daughter is in block C." No one believed they would even try, but the silence that followed spread across the room like a storm. "Your daughter. You have a child in jail." Marcus training took over. Please. Nera gripped his arm desperately. She is only 8. Psychos. They separated us 3 days ago. They said I was not fit to care for her. Not fit because of her weight. Marcus made a career-ending decision. Come on, we're going to Block C. They ran. Marcus sprinting while Nera moved as quickly as she could, breathing hard but determined. The base was chaos. Soldiers running, officers shouting orders. They reached Block C in 4 minutes. 3 Na'vi prisoners lay stunned on the floor. A security team had formed a wall, weapons drawn. Through clear doors, Marcus saw small figures running between cells. Sir. Lieutenant Erickson rushed over. Na'vi. Children got past the locks. They're looking for something. We can't calm them down. They don't speak standard. Marcus turned to Nara. Can you talk to them? Yes, but I do not see Kira. She pressed against the wall. I am here. One small figure stopped, turned, ran toward the door. Mama, they said you were gone. Never. My star. Never. The child pressed small hands against the wall where her mother's rested. 10 other children gathered behind her, faces streaked with tears. Sir, we can't open the doors. Erickson said. Protocol. Protocol says we treat them humanely. How is separating children from mothers humane? Open them now. The doors slid open. The child crashed into Nera's arms, small and underfed and desperate. Nera sank to her knees, wrapping her daughter close. The other children crowded round. An older child spoke in broken standard. Are you taking Kira away? They took all the mothers. They said mothers were dangerous. Marcus crouched down. What's your name? Sura. Sura, I'm going to reunite you with your families, but I need your help. Will you help me? Sura studied him with ancient eyes. Promise on your ancestors. You won't let them take the mothers again. Marcus thought about all the promises his people had broken. I promise on my ancestors. On my honor as a soldier. Footsteps echoed, heavy, multiple, moving fast. Colonel Hastings arrived with security. Face purple. Chen, what the hell are you doing? Marcus stood, keeping himself between Hastings and the children. Following the Valkyrian Treaty. Sir, Article 7, Section 3. All non-fighter prisoners housed, consistent with family needs. These children need their mothers. You have no power to change detention rules. Actually, sir, I do. Nera's under my legal responsibility. That includes her dependent child per subsection 1 for B. I'm using my right to immediate family integration. Captain Winters stepped forward. Colonel, he's right. I've reviewed the treaty. Chen's understanding is legally sound. If we're holding families separately, we're breaking the rules. The Na'vi Council could cancel the entire surrender. Hastings calculated rules versus politics. Fine. Process family integration for all children. But Chen, this is on your record. Any problems are yours. As the crowd left, Nera's daughter Kira studied Marcus. Are you the one who chose Mama? Yes, even though she's fat. Nera gasped, but Marcus smiled. Your mama isn't fat. She survived something difficult. Her body tells a story worth knowing. The other soldiers laughed. I know, but I didn't single quotes T. Why? Because seeing people for who they are is harder than laughing. And I tried to do hard things. Kira nodded seriously. Okay, you can stay. And just when everyone thought they would break, something was revealed that no one expected. The medical building smelled of cleaning chemicals. Marcus stood outside, while Nera and Kira went through health screening. Captain Winters came over with coffee. That was something back there. I've been reviewing selection records. Know how many soldiers? Asked about prisoners' backgrounds. None. Torrance, single quotes S selection. Her name is Sella. She was an engineer, water cleaning specialist, won awards, could have helped rebuild her planet. Winters's voice was heavy with disgust. Torrance is using her as a housekeeper. The door opened. The elderly Na'vi doctor came out. Captain Chen, may the ancestors guide your path. May they guide us all. Marcus responded in Na, single quotes Vi. Inside. The Dr. Tahani pointed them to sit. Both are underfed but stable. Kira needs nutrient supplementation for 3 months. I'll make sure she gets it. Tahani studied him. You chose Nara. Some say you mock us. Others say you chose wisely. She turned to Nera. Will you permit me to tell him? Nera's arms tightened around Kira. It does not matter. It is past. The past shapes the present. You taught me that, old friend. You know each other, Marcus said. Tahan, I was my mentor, Nera said quietly. Before the war, I was training to be a healer. I was good at it. She was exceptional. Tahani corrected. The best student I trained in 40 cycles. Her hands could sense injuries. Scanners missed. What happened? Nera was silent. When she spoke, her voice was empty. 2 years ago, there was a plague in the southern settlements. Deadly. I went to help. I was 7 months pregnant with my second child, a son. The plague took him. My husband, my sister, and her 3 children. My mother. I was in a med pod for 6 weeks. When I woke, my family was ash. And my body, she pointed to herself. The medications changed my metabolism. The weight came and wouldn't leave. The plague took 30,000 lives. Tahani added softly. Treatment left survivors marked. In our culture, those who gain weight are seen as carrying grief, weighted by sorrow. Nara became difficult for others. To look at Dot, she reminded them of loss. They stopped coming for healing. Nara continued. They said my grief contaminated my gift, that I was marked by death. When the war came and I volunteered as a medic, they refused me. So I carried supplies instead. The heavy work no one wanted. I was captured doing that work. Your soldiers looked at me and saw only something to mock. Marcus felt cold settle in his chest. You saved lives. Lost everything trying to save lives. And both peoples punished you for surviving. Yes. Tahan. I placed a hand on Nera's shoulder. But you chose her, Marcus Chen. Why? Because I've seen enough death to recognize someone who fought it and won. Because surviving isn't weakness. It's the hardest strength. Because she was sitting on that floor alone, and no one should be that alone. And because, he paused. Because I looked at her and saw someone worth saving, and I realized I needed that. I needed to believe people were still worth saving, that I was still capable of choosing compassion over convenience. Pretty words, Tahani said, testing. Will they remain pretty when the cost becomes clear? The cost is already clear. I burned half my career today. I'll burn the rest. Tomorrow, my fellow soldiers hate me. My commanders question my fitness. And you think that makes you noble? No. It makes me tired. Tired of being part of a system that treats thinking beings like property. Tired of winning wars while losing humanity. Tired of looking in the mirror and not recognizing who looks back. Marcus stood. I don't know if what I'm doing is right. I just know I couldn't keep doing what was wrong. Tahani studied him, then nodded slowly. The ancestors see truth in intention. They saw yours today. She turned to Nert. Go with him, child. Your story is not finished. It wasn't just knowledge, it was legacy. And suddenly, silence fell across the crowd. 3 days later, Marcus was called to General Morrison's office. The base commander's quarters were on the highest level. Windows looking over the defeated Na'vi city, buildings still smoking, streets slowly filling with returning refugees. Morrison was a career soldier, his face carved from stone. He didn't look up when Marcus entered. He didn't invite him to sit. Finally, Morrison set down his datapad. Captain Chen, I've been reviewing the incident reports. Colonel Hastings recommends court-martial. Major Torrance filed a complaint and now the Na'vi Council requests your presence at a formal gathering. Specifically you, and specifically requesting you bring Ner, R.A. Sir, I can explain. Can you explain why you chose a prisoner everyone rejected? Why you broke rules? Why you've ruined the psychological advantage we established? Psychological advantage, sir. Showing them we can take what we want, that we won completely. Morrison's voice was flat. That's the point, Captain. To establish dominance psychologically. Marcus felt anger rise. With respect, sir, we didn't win completely. We won but if we lose our humanity in the process, what exactly did we win? Spare me the philosophy. This is about order, discipline, chain of command. That's about a little girl who needed her mother, sir. About children being used as psychological weapons, about treating thinking beings with basic dignity. Morrison's expression didn't change. You know your problem, Chen. You think individual conscience outweighs collective authority. You think your personal morality matters more than military necessity. Maybe it does, sir. Maybe sometimes it has to. That's the kind of thinking that gets soldiers killed. And the other kind, the kind that says obedience matters more than morality. That's the kind that creates monsters, sir. That turns good soldiers into something worse than the enemy. The silence stretched. Finally, Morrison spoke. The Na'vi Council wants to see you tomorrow at noon. A formal recognition ceremony. Your actions touched their population in ways Command didn't expect. He paused. Be careful, Chen. When the Na'vi honors someone, it means something. It costs something. You need to understand what you've chosen. Not just Nira, but the path that comes with her. I think I'm beginning to... Sir. No, you're not. But you will. The next morning, Marcus, Nira, and Kira were taken to the Na'vi Council chambers. The building had survived the war, its living structure pulsing with glowing light. Inside, 7 elders sat in a circle. Council leader Ikora was in the central position, her presence filling the space. But Marcus Chen, Ikora said in perfect standard, you have been called because you have done something never done before. You have seen. Council leader, silence. Listen first. Ikora rose. When your people demanded our daughters as prizes, we sent those we thought you would want, the beautiful, the young, the unmarked. We sent them to sacrifice themselves so others might be spared. She moved toward Nira, and we sent one we thought no human would choose, one marked by tragedy, one whose body carries the weight of our greatest sorrow. We sent Nira thinking she would be rejected, having served as a reminder of what war costs. Ikora placed her hand on Nira's cheek. But you chose her. You chose the one we could not bear to look at, because she reminds us of our failure. The plague that killed 30,000, the treatment that saved lives but marked by the cultural shame for turning away from our wounded. Marcus's breath caught. They had sent her expecting rejection. A test within a test. You chose her. Ikora continued, then fought for her child, broke your laws, risked your position, not for strategy, because you saw a mother and child who needed each other. You saw people, not property. Ikora turned to the council. In our tradition, there is a name for one who sees clearly when others are blind, who acts with honor when surrounded by cruelty, who stands alone against darkness. She spoke words in Na'vi that rang like bells. It Kaya, the one who walks between worlds, the bridge builder, the peace carrier. The council rose as one, placing right hands over hearts in salute. Marcus stood frozen. He'd heard of legendary peacemakers who had ended clan wars, united tribes, heroes whose names were still sung. You honor me too much, Marcus said in Na'vi. I am just a soldier. You were just a soldier, Ikora corrected. Now you are more. That title carries weight. Responsibility. It means you belong to both peoples now, human and Na'vi. You cannot choose a side. You must choose truth, even when it costs everything. I understand, do you? Your people will hate you for it. Mine will doubt you. You will walk alone between worlds that both claim you, and both reject you. That is the price of seeing clearly. She paused. Are you prepared to pay it? Marcus looked at Nera, at Kira, whose small hand had found his, at the council members whose faces showed respect, mixed with expectation. Burden, I am, he said. But the final blow came not from words, it came from a name the galaxy had long forgotten. The ceremony ended with ritual words, whose weight pressed like gravity, as the council filed out. Nera remained standing, Kira's hand in hers. You should not have done this, Nera said softly. The title of Oma, it is a gift and a curse. My people will expect miracles from you. Yours will expect betrayal, maybe. They'll both be disappointed. They will be. That is certain. She met his eyes. Why did you really choose me? Marcus Chen, tell me the truth. Marcus gave her honesty, because you were sitting on the floor, alone, because everyone was laughing, because I looked at you and saw someone who had survived, things I can't imagine, and I thought maybe if I could help you stand up, maybe I could stand up to, maybe I could be the person I wanted to be, instead of the one this war was turning me into. So I was your redemption. No, you were my reminder that there are still people worth being better for. Kira tugged his sleeve. Are you going to stay with us forever? Forever is too large a promise. For as long as you'll have me. Good mama cries at night. Maybe if you stay she won't cry as much. Kira. Nera blushed darker blue. Marcus knelt to Kira's level. Everyone cries sometimes. It's how we clean out sadness, so there's room for other things. Your mama has a lot of sadness to clean out, but I promise I'll help make room for good things. What good things? I don't know yet. We'll find out together. This seemed to satisfy the child's need for clarity. She nodded seriously. They left the chambers, coming out into the Na'vi city where afternoon suns painted everything orange and purple. Everywhere they walked, Na'vi citizens stopped to stare, not with mockery, but with recognition, hope, fear. An elderly Na'vi man came over, grabbed Marcus's hand, and pressed it to his forehead in thanks. His granddaughter was in detention. Nera translated, reunited with his daughter. Yesterday, he says you gave him his family back. More Na'vi came over, mothers with children, elders with young adults, all thanking him, touching his hands, whispering Omatikaya like a prayer. It was overwhelming, humbling, terrifying. That evening, Marcus found his quarters vandalized, traitor painted across his door, his belongings destroyed, photos of his family ripped to shreds. A knock on the doorframe. Captain Winters stood there, with a duffel bag. Figured you might need somewhere to stay. Tonight, I've got an extra bunk. Winters-Dan, single quotes T. Just come on. You know this is just the beginning, right? It's going to get worse, don't I know? And you're still going through with it. Marcus looked at the destroyed photos, at the hate smeared across his walls, at the cost of seeing clearly when everyone else chose blindness. Yeah, I am. Then, you're either the bravest man I know or the dumbest. Winters clapped him on the shoulder, possibly both. Come on. As they walked away, Marcus thought about Nera and Kira, about the title he'd been given, about the bridge he was building between two worlds that wanted to remain separate. And as they walked away, no one dared laugh again, for they finally understood what they had witnessed. 6 months later, the Valkyrian peace accords were signed in the same hall where Marcus had made his choice. The treaty changed from simple surrender into genuine, living together framework. Article 12. The Chen provision established protection rules for prisoners, required family integration for all detainees, created oversight committees with representatives from both species. Marcus stood at the ceremony in his dress uniform, though the insignia had changed, not promoted as he'd expected, reassigned instead to the newly formed Interspecies Relations Division, a position that technically didn't exist in military hierarchy, neither rank nor role, just liaison. Chen. Nera stood beside him in traditional Na'vi formal wear, her body covered in woven fabrics that celebrated rather than hid her form. She had begun teaching healing arts again, training both Na'vi and human medics in techniques neither species had fully understood alone. Her students came from everywhere, some drawn by her skill, others by the story of the woman who had been last chosen and became most honored. Kira played in the corner with children of both species, their laughter cutting through the formal atmosphere like light through shadow. Do you regret it? Nera asked quietly as the human and Na'vi leaders exchanged ceremonial pens. What you gave up? Marcus thought about his military career effectively ended, about friends who no longer spoke to him, family back on Earth who struggled to understand his choices, about nights he woke from nightmares where he was still standing in that hall, still choosing, still burning his life down for a stranger. Every day, he admitted. Nera's expression fell. And every day, Marcus continued, I wake up and see you teaching healers from both species to save lives together. I see Kira laughing with children who would have grown up hating each other. I see this. He pointed to the treaty signing. And I know that none of it would have happened if someone hadn't chosen to see differently. You think too much of your choice, Nera said gently. It was one moment that changed everything for you, for those children, for me. Maybe that's all any of us get. One moment where we choose to be better than we were. One moment where we see clearly. Council leader Ikara came over, her formal robes rustling. Omat Kaya. The representatives wish to speak with you. Both sides have concerns that require a bridge. They always do, Marcus said, but he was smiling. As he moved toward the delegation tables, Nera caught his hand. Marcus, thank you for choosing me, for seeing me. Thank you for letting me. They separated, moving into their different roles, her toward the medical delegation, him toward the political one. Two people who had been last and least, now standing at the center of something larger than themselves. In the hall where it had all begun, where laughter had once echoed with cruelty, a new sound rose, the sound of two species learning to speak the same language, learning to see each other, learning that the strongest bridges are built not from stone or steel, but from the courage to choose dignity over dominance. And somewhere in the Valkyrian sunset, in the space between orange and purple light, the universe shifted just slightly, recalibrating itself around the truth that one choice, one moment of seeing clearly could echo across worlds. In a universe built on power, sometimes a single act of compassion is enough to shift the stars themselves.